world is changing. Truth is vanishing. War is coming.
It's been a long time, friend. You've no idea the power I represent.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I am Anthony J.Q. Nash, doing my best Beau Oliver impression. I am joined here today with Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review, as the title suggests, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, the 7th installment in the Mission Impossible franchise. And before we get into the movie, I want to let you guys know that you can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts or right here on YouTube, and make sure you follow us on social medias at Nerd Soup, at Anthony J.Q. Nash, and at Nerd Soup Monkey, and at Beau Soup, because he's still tweeting. He's still making the people think and laugh and cry with his tweets and his threads. Follow us on Threads. You on Threads, Aaron?
Yeah, I made one. I'm done. I'm over it already. Just doesn't have that same. Even though Twitter's a shithole, also, I can't do both, and I just keep going back and forth, and I'm like, this is pointless.
You sure your mic's on?
Is it?
Give me another check.
Check.
Yeah, it is.
So, did you make one?
Yeah, I did. I couldn't resist.
Yeah,
I haven't threaded anything.
I'll have it on the back burner, but I don't know. If I think of something funny, do I tweet it? Do I thread it? It's too much for me to handle. I need things simple.
Yeah, it's good for brands because you could just put your bullshit posts on Twitter and Threads. Like Woj.
Yeah.
It's good for Woj. Dropping bombs multiple places.
I don't know. It was like fun for the first day, and then it just turned into Twitter. We'll see.
Yeah, is there anything else that we should mention before we get into this movie?
I lost the bet.
Oh, Floppenheimer?
I just saw Barbie projected over 100 million opening weekend. Oppenheimer, it's like 49. I'm so fucked.
Yeah, yes, you are.
I need the olds to come out for me.
Well,
it's a silent, the silent majority. That's the problem.
Well, I was
They're not registering all my grandparents who aren't posting that they're going to Oppenheimer.
Are you saying a lot of people who bought Barbie tickets are actually just dead?
We need a recount, I think.
Already grasping for conspiracy theories. Just can't take your L.
But I think
that's a problem in America these days.
No, I need the old people to show up to the cinema for Oppenheimer.
Well, I was reading that dyeing your hair pink is really unhealthy for your hair.
I know.
Why don't you just get a Barbie tattoo?
That's permanent. And then it wasn't pink, it was bleached.
Okay, I've heard that's also bad.
Probably is equally as bad. Yeah. And I'm scared. I didn't accept a bet with Teddy once to shave my head because I'm just scared that what if it just doesn't come back?
I don't think that's how it works.
I know, but I'm like, my hair is all I really got.
Well, that's why I'm looking out for you with the bleach.
I know.
Tattoo could be fun. And then every time somebody asks you, why the fuck do you have a Barbie tattoo? It's a fun story.
Do I get Barbie?
If you're a man, yeah.
Or like a picture of Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie in the fun text, like a little cursive. Whatever you want to do.
I'll think about it.
Yeah, you could put it somewhere where it's not too obvious, but maybe somebody will see it if you're at the beach in Croatia. I don't know. I don't know what you do in your free time.
Yeah, no, vacation of Croatia beaches.
You're a big time
hop on my private jet.
Well, I don't know. I just thought that you were, an eager traveler.
You just came back from a Euro trip for 2 weeks. That's you.
Euro tripping. Euro stepping.
Oh.
All right, let's get into the movie, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's good to be back. And actually, no, I've been home protecting the streets. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But, yeah, Tom Cruise, man. This guy just keeps on pumping out these movies. And he's making everybody forget about his personal life because he's so goddamn entertaining. And I think that's what a celebrity should be, right? You know what I really appreciated about this is that I really appreciated that they mentioned how the IMF is also the International Monetary Fund, because it always throws me off. I'm like, what's the organization in the Mission Impossibles? It's not IMF, because that's the International Monetary Fund. What is it? Oh, it is IMF. But is it MI6? No, that's British intelligence. So I appreciated that.
Yeah.
But man, these movies, they continue to just be good.
They're just awesome. They're just a lot of fun. And I love how they're still, like, when you watch the first few, I think they've gotten better, but like, they still keep that same like charm to it, the same goofiness. They didn't really stray away from what made the movies them, but they just kind of found a way to make that like believable within this space. Like the mask thing could be seen as incredibly goofy, but they just lean into it, and it's just every time they pull it off, I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
I laugh every time.
I love it.
It fools me all the time, dude. Like that one suspicious guy who walked in the opening scene in the little prologue, and I'm like, of course that's Ethan Hunt. How did I not know that? To this day, the best delivery of being surprised by that was Alec Baldwin in Rogue Nation. Hunt.
No, I love the Wolf Blitzer one.
Well, just him just being surprised
Yeah.
is always burned into me. He's just, what?
And then
He's the physical manifestation of destiny.
like even the Dutch angles, like something that's kind of outdated. They just, no, that's our thing.
Yeah.
We keep it going. And I'm like,
Oh, no,
hell
they're
yeah.
perfect, dude.
But yeah, these movies just continue to be just great action movies. And that's what like frustrates me when talking about like a Fast and the Furious franchise. Like when people are like, oh, they're goofy, but they're fun. But it bothers me like just, yeah, you can be a little goofy and fun, but you got to do something in your action to make it to seem fresh, continue to build upon it and make it so that like it clearly effort and dedication, and everything that goes into crafting these sequences is a science. And you get that every time you watch these movies. And yeah, I think mostly like the plot was a little confusing. I kind of still don't really know who's working with whose motivations.
I'm just rooting for
lined
Ethan.
up with. Yeah,
I'm rooting for Ethan.
I'm just like, yeah, that's the bad guy, and I'm rooting for Tom Cruise. And
yeah, whoever he's pointing a gun
Yeah.
at, they're bad.
unless they're wearing
Can't
a mask.
trust him.
Yeah.
Kit Ridge, I don't know what his deal is. He confuses me.
Well, yeah. Then the head of the CIA, like,
Yeah.
was he in on it? But like, I just didn't know what the plan was.
No,
But
well, luckily there's going to be a part 2, so
Yeah.
maybe things will be cleared up.
But I think especially now, it's funny too, like the timing with AI and everything, to have that be the bad guy, the entity, and finding the key and kind of seeing what like the dangers of what this could actually do, and just a complete basically race between nations and independent criminals to try to get this power, because whoever controls the key basically controls the world.
Yeah, and Top Gun Maverick, similar, where it's like Tom Cruise is literally trying to save movies with the movie itself and also inside the movie, where you have that commentary on how things are just becoming, like you said, dominated by technology. It's losing the warmth. Everything's very cold, and it's all about efficiency. And it's funny because these movies have a little bit of that in them as well, because it feels like they're just competing with themselves when it comes to the action sequences. How can we top what we did in the last movie? And they kind of spoiled it when they showed us that behind the scenes of him jumping off the cliff, but I thought it hit in the movie theater, just knowing that it's actually him
That was awesome.
trying to navigate the skies and rip open that parachute. And like you said, it does keep that sincerity from the original movies, where maybe the leg kicks and the wiring isn't as present. The fighting sequences in a lot of these action movies these days, it's all about how well choreographed can it look, and it's going to be a bit more grounded. But like a moment when he zips in through with the parachute and saves Haley Atwell's character, totally unrealistic, but it made me laugh out loud, and I thought it was a great moment. So, and also the theme of, going back to Fast and Furious, about friendship. There's that one clip going around from one of the movies, I think it's Ghost Protocol, where Benji says, no, I want to do this because you're my friend and I care about you. And everyone's like, look at this Disney Channel dialogue. Because people have become, nobody's allowed to express genuine emotion anymore in movies like this. And yeah, sometimes it could come off as melodramatic, but I don't think it ever does in this franchise. And that's another thing they do well, is they've kept this cast together for so many movies now, and I think it really does carry over the love that you have for these characters. So when they're in these perilous situations, and this one felt way more perilous than the other ones. It was like they were constantly on their heels, being thrown new things, to new obstacles, new puzzles and riddles, and the action set pieces. It really did all complement each other well, but it was a lot. So you're like, damn, I don't want anything to happen to Benji. I don't want anything to happen to Rebecca Ferguson. I know Ethan's all right because he's the main guy. Tom Cruise will never be killed off, but yeah, it's just so much fun, to put it plainly. And it continues to just trend in a direction where, like I said, competing with itself. How can we top what we did in the last movie? Just impress people. And that's why so many people love Tom Cruise, because he's about this life.
Yeah.
He's dedicated to it,
No,
man.
he's the best advert for Scientology there is.
I mean, you just can't resist those jokes, but it is so funny. You watch him in this. You're like, should I sign up for a free trial? Should I go for the questioning?
When do I go to space?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, he just continues. Like, I don't think it's better than Fallout. I don't know where I would rank it in terms of like where it stands within all the Mission Impossibles, but it definitely is like on par, especially with these last few. And like, I'm genuinely excited for Dead Reckoning Part 2, just to see what happens next. Where's the gang going? How does this all conclude? And also, this movie is incredibly fucking, like, just the hottest movie ever. Like, Rebecca Ferguson, when she put that eye patch on.
Yeah.
Like, what the...
Yeah, when she was whistling.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm in love with you. Then Haley Atwell showed up, and I'm like, wait, hold up.
I'm glad some movie has recognized or has remembered how hot she is, because it feels like she should be a bigger star. She should be in front of bigger movies, and you rarely see her unless it's her fucking cameoing as Peggy Carter in the MCU. And I love when she shows up.
And Palm shows up, and you're like, forget them, you know? Then there's a time in the middle where you're like, wait, Tom Cruise? What's happening here?
Yeah, I appreciated that they introduced some of these new supporting characters and they made the effort to develop them, where you aren't spending as much time with Ethan during some of these crucial moments. They put Haley Atwell's character Grace in the driver's seat, literally, and then they switched them over.
That was a fun sequence. When they flip and switch spots.
Yeah. And you kind of saw that Rebecca Ferguson's death was coming. I guess there's just not room for two really pretty brunettes on the team. But listen, she was awesome in the first one, Rogue Nation, and then they brought her back for Fallout. And that's something that they haven't been so consistent with throughout the franchises. There'll be the love interest, semi-love interest for Ethan, and then that character goes away. So they kept her for 3 movies. So like I said, keeping that cast together and then, having her be killed off, it is a spoiler review. It's it's a moment that makes you sad. You thought maybe that she could be spun off, or eventually she might lead the franchise, because Tom Cruise can't do this forever.
Yeah.
But now it feels like maybe Haley Atwell is being positioned to pick up the baton after Dead Reckoning. But like I said, I really appreciated that they gave her the spotlight and they allowed her to show off how she could be a leading woman and carry a franchise like this, even if it is just a couple of scenes. But her performance was great.
Yeah, what is, like, we always talk about characters taking up the mantle, gets the shield. What's the Mission Impossible equivalent to that?
Yeah, I guess it's
You just got the mask machine?
The mask machine, right? Yeah, Benji's like, this belongs to you now, but it's broken. We need some time to fix it. No, once one of these... in the next movie, if there's like a sequence of her running just for a long time, that's how we'll know that she's the new leader of the gang.
Well,
because Tom Cruise always gets the running scenes.
The best part is when they, like Vanessa Kirby, when they make her the Vanessa Kirby mask. I guess they just can't afford colored contacts.
Oh, that's pretty funny, right? Yeah, she had the brown eyes, right?
I was noticing. I thought it was going to come up because, like, I feel like they were, like, or at least I was zeroing on it. I'm like, it's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, I saw somebody comment about that on Twitter, and I was confused as to what they were talking about. But she was good too, Vanessa Kirby. She's another one who's got incredible star power.
It's the baddest cast in the game.
Yeah, no, they did a good job of making the cast very sexy. I was going to bring up Ving Rhames.
I was going to bring up Simon Pegg.
There you go. But those two, I mean, talk about the best buddies to have if you're a main character, right?
No, that sequence when they're going through the airport, I thought was very cool. Just having them all on the Discord together, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, all in the group chat.
But the way they were able to, like, manipulate the computers in real time and battling against the AI, I thought that was like a pretty fun sequence to kind of kick things off with.
Yeah, it definitely was a fun sequence. And I just appreciate that Ving Rhames, I don't think he's in Ghost Protocol, but he just always shows up and he's been the man in the chair. And if you say anything against Ethan, he'll probably try and kill you. He's like a big friendly teddy bear, but if you cross Ethan, he's going after you. So I just like the gang. I like them all together, and it's fun. And Tom Cruise continues to be just a legendary leading man. I mean, the commitment that he has to this role, where every line of dialogue he delivers, it feels like the end of the world, that he's just taking these things so seriously. And it's just hard to find that authenticity in Hollywood these days. And I think that they have it in the John Wick franchise. It's similar with Keanu Reeves. I think Tom Cruise is a better actor. But it's similar in that it's more so about just their personalities, their presences. It's Tom Cruise and then Ethan Hunt secondary. And it's Keanu Reeves and John Wick secondary. They just make those characters their own. And he's a 61-year-old man, and you're still convinced that he can beat the shit out of everybody he comes up against. And they refuse to do the I'm too old for this angle. They're like, no, Ethan Hunt's still the GOAT. Like, he's a problem.
Yeah.
And he will fuck you up. And we see him fuck people up in this. I think one of my criticisms would be is that it is legit nonstop. And a lot of it is exposition that was just boring me. Where it doesn't really matter, like we said, I'm rooting for Ethan, bad guy, good guy. But it was like, I just wasn't entertained by it. And I think exposition can be entertaining. But the dude who played the main villain, he was selling it for a lot of those scenes.
Well, I didn't really understand.
Morales.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand too much. Like, I get the idea of what's going on, but in terms of how the AI is using him like that got a little confusing, especially at the end when it was the head CIA guy. He was involved with it too. Like, I just didn't know who was actually who created this, who knows what's going on, and how it's all kind of playing out here. Because like what I thought was kind of like he's being used as like an avatar where the machine is feeding him this information in almost like a deterministic sense where he knows everybody's next move. And I think he does mention that, but I feel like that kind of gets lost with some of it as well. And we never really get like the full, I guess, scope of what is it, the entity, like the moves it's making, what it's doing to prevent being shut down and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, a lot of those like exposition dumps and explaining other things and kind of how everything. Sure, like in my mind, I just boiled it down to like Ethan Hunt versus bad guys, and I can still have fun with that. But I fully didn't like grasp the plot and exactly followed everything that was going on, because it did move very, like you said, nonstop. You know, sometimes it does benefit some of these movies to take a breather for a second. And when they did do that, I felt like we got a lot of explaining and a lot of stuff you couldn't follow. And once you missed that, you really kind of felt like you were trying to play catch up for the rest of the way.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of catch up, dude. And I guess they were just trying to make Gabriel as a servant of his god. He's just a slave to this machine. And it was always inevitable that he would take up this role. You know, speaking of deterministic fate, and that it was the perfect way to manipulate Ethan Hunt, because the entity saw Ethan Hunt's exploits and was like, okay, this is the only person who's going to be able to take me out, because he never sticks to the mission, right? He can break from fate and make those emotional choices
but I wish
that you can't really anticipate.
I had like a moment like, did you finish Devs?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes when they had the visualizations of the machine predicting the different possibilities and seeing how it played out, I wish we actually got an actual sense of like this thing, like actually predicting moves in real time like that. Because I felt like it was just, a lot of it was coincidental. Like even when he talks about, I'm going to be on this train and you guys are going to be on the train no matter what, because that's just because we know that because the machine told me, but we never, like, I was confused of why they were actually on the train.
Yeah, and you know,
it's like they just fell into line because that's kind of what the story needed. Like, we needed these characters on the train, and that's kind of why they all ended up there, rather than it being, maybe I missed something too, but
I feel like there was definitely a lot that I missed, and it does seem like a common criticism of some of these action movies, that things are just too convenient. Where how did this happen? These chance encounters where the good guy can win or the bad guy can try and foil what the good guy's trying to do. And this was like a safety blanket in that no matter how confusing it got, well, the entity predicted it all. So they're all just sort of following this very confusing path that the entity is pushing them towards. The thing is, the action was good. I don't think it has the best action of the series. I think the ending, when all the trains are falling, that was an incredible sequence, dude. When it's Ethan and Grace just
floating around.
It reminded me so much of Uncharted. And the director of Uncharted was like, "You're welcome for the inspiration," jokingly. But that was so well done. And the chase sequence in Rome was also incredible, with them being
Rome's
handcuffed.
Getting beat up, man.
Rome's getting the shit kicked out of them.
Fucked it up. Now this Ethan Hunt.
Well, it's just such a beautiful setting, right? It's a perfect place to just be an absolute wrecking ball. And that's what Palm Clementive's character was.
Man in Rome, right?
Yeah. In the first half of the movie, she's just ruthless. Just having a great time. She's got all those manic laughs and the mannerisms and the killer eyes. And then eventually, you know, Ethan spares her life and she comes over to the good guys. But the silent assassin has been something a lot of franchises have played with, and she's definitely one of the best. I am curious as to Hollywood's obsession with casting Asian women in roles where they rarely speak.
It's
getting weird.
Yeah.
Because it's a common occurrence, and like Karen Fukuhara has literally played two characters like that in Suicide Squad and The Boys. But I appreciated the physical aspect of her performance, especially when they're in that narrow
alley.
That was intense, dude. That was making me claustrophobic, where it's like impossible to dodge, and she's got this stick, she's beating the shit out of Ethan, and he started beating the shit out of her. So everything that her character was doing, I love that, when you've got this tail that you just can't fucking shake. It reminded me of Mr. Nobody in the John Wick movies. And I mentioned how charmed I was by Haley Atwell, but I didn't expect her to have this big of a role.
No, she was really good. I think she really complemented the like established crew like very well as a newcomer, but still, you know, bringing her own set of skills and kind of, yeah, it kind of like went full circle there at the end with her and her. I need to learn some sleight of hand. That's the coolest shit ever, man.
Oh yeah, the magic tricks, yeah.
Or just not even to use to pickpocket people, just to be like, got your wallet, give it back, be like, that was cool though, right?
Yeah, just to fuck with people.
Yeah. But I think her chemistry with Tom Cruise is like really well. Like they mesh together very well.
Well, he's got that power of having chemistry with everybody. I can't remember which actress said this. I think it was Nicole Kidman, but she was like, you look him in the eyes and you think that he's actually in love with you. So you're convinced when they're all like, oh, when she says, why would you guys do this for me? You barely know me. And he's like, well, I'm Tom Cruise. I just love anybody that I come across. I just can't help it. Mm-hmm. But it also had aspects of the mentor taking along the new kid and showing them the ropes. He was very patient with her, even though they were in these high-octane situations where they're handcuffed and both trying to drive the little Fiat. Nice little Miyazaki reference there. But the way that they managed to layer the story, where it's like, yeah, she's got her own thing going on, but they're developing this new relationship. Like I said, the master and the student. Maybe one day she will become the lead of this franchise. So their chemistry was great. And I think Benji and Luther, maybe they don't have as much to do in this movie as they've had in previous films, but Simon Pegg is a great comedic relief presence in every movie that he's ever been in. So I just like how his role has continued to just increase, or that he's stuck around, and same thing with Luther. And Kittredge, he's just funny. Like, he just makes me laugh. You can't read him. Like you said, I don't know. I guess he is working for the U.S. government, but he's also like with IMF. Like he's just very pragmatic. It felt like he's just kind of going with the flow. And I appreciated. I can't remember the actor's name, but the two IMF guys who were just chasing them around, and they were funny.
He's one of those faces. Like, I know who he is, but I can't like.
Yeah, he's the dude. He always shows up and shit, and he's just cool. Shea Wingham. That's his name. He was the dickhead who got killed in Kong Skull Island. Remember when he tried to sacrifice himself and the fucking monster just threw him against the wall? No, he's been in a bunch of shit. You know, he's been in the Fast and Furious. He was a federal agent in that. He's had a bunch of supporting roles throughout the years. So that was impressive that there was all these new characters, but nobody felt out of place. It all felt necessary. Like in a lesser movie, you would say, why do we need to spend time with those two bozos? But I appreciated their perspective that they brought on things, like the younger guy saying, man, it looks like Ethan's
he's
in
joining,
the right.
He's joining the crew next movie.
Yeah, definitely.
He's putting together a squad.
And once again, like Top Gun Maverick, with them telling Ethan it's a different world, you can't hide in the shadows anymore, it's all digital, the analog shit is done, it's kaput. You need to pick a side. Either you move forward with the times or you get left behind. And Ethan's like, no, I'm the master of my own destiny. So especially with what we're experiencing right now in Hollywood, because it does sort of feel like a watershed moment where we're leaving behind the past and something new is going to develop. Whatever that is, we will see. And Tom Cruise does feel like an artifact who's still living. So that's why I appreciate the time that, he's giving us with these films. And I never want him to stop, no matter how old he gets.
No,
I think he still looks good enough, man.
No, they need to make, just keep making these. Kind of like with John Wick, they just never get boring.
Yeah, definitely.
Who do you think wins, John Wick or Ethan Hunt?
It's like impossible to say, dude. It's like two natural disasters. Everybody else loses.
What about Extraction Tyler?
He needs a couple more movies before I can put him up against these big dogs. I liked Extraction too, but he needs to get that resume up. All right, before we move on, I want to take a quick moment to shout out our sponsor for today's review, and that would be First Leaf. Summertime is here, and I think many of our listeners would agree that summertime is the best season. It feels like there's something going on every weekend between pool parties and barbecues and family events. Everybody's just kicking back, enjoying the hot weather, and having a good time. And nothing complements a good time with friends and family quite like a glass of wine. It is the perfect time to sip on your favorite reds and your whites and your rosés. These days, it feels like there's such a wide selection of wines to choose from and that's where First Leaf comes in. I love First Leaf because they make it super easy to get personalized wine boxes delivered on your schedule. You get to choose the day your shipment comes, you can go out and have all sorts of summer fun, and voila, you come home and you've got a box of wine sitting on your doorstep, perfectly curated and crafted for your tastes. To get started with First Leaf, all you have to do is answer some quick questions about your likes and your dislikes on their website, and their expert team will select a customized assortment of world-class wines based on your preferences. Personally, I love rosés and white wines, especially in the summer, so those have really been my go-to choices when answering First Leaf's surveys. But they've also got terrific reds and sparkling wines for those who like a little bubble action.
Yeah, real quick. Didn't you say I was supposed to get a couple of those bottles last time?
Yeah.
You never gave them to me.
No, they were delivered. Yeah.
To you?
To me. I just put down my address. I figured we live so close.
Right, but I never got them.
No, I got them.
Yeah, but you never gave them to me.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Do I get that?
Well, no, I drank them.
Oh.
But they were acquired.
Were they good?
They were terrific.
Are we getting more?
Well, you're a big rosé guy, right?
No, I like all wines.
So yes.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. No, you could probably get some more.
Okay.
You have to sign up. But that's okay. I'm going to tell you where you could sign up. Just
okay.
give me a...
All right, let me know.
Stop interrupting me.
Well,
with First Leaf, your personalized wine shipments are delivered directly to your door, so you can kick back and enjoy bottles you'll love all summer long, all priced lower than what you'd pay at the wine store. Plus, every selection is backed by First Leaf's 100% satisfaction guarantee. So to make sure you've got great wine when you want it this summer, you've got to try First Leaf. Head on over to tryfirstleaf.com/nerdsoup to sign up, and you'll get your first 6 hand-curated bottles for just $44.95. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/nerdsoup. That's tryfirstleaf.com/nerdsoup to get your first 6 bottles for under $8 a bottle. Tryfirstleaf.com/nerdsoup.
Ethan, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
Yeah, so just going back to the movie, what impressed me the most, I mean, it's going to be everything about the Orient Express train sequence. There are just so many moments, and I literally just saw it, so I'm still sort of reeling from it all, but it's definitely a movie I want to go back and watch again because it feels like I said, there's just so much going on when it comes to the action and also the plot, but for the most part, the action was just really well done.
Gotta hurry up for Oppenheimer takes those IMAX theaters.
That is true, dude. I was surprised that none of it was shot in IMAX. I hope maybe one day they'll shoot an entire Mission Impossible in IMAX. But that didn't really matter because the epicness of that whole sequence was felt. And even though we knew what was coming with him jumping off of that mountain, it was incredible. I think it's right up there with him hanging off the side of the plane as the best stunt that they've ever done in these Mission Impossible movies. And also the, I forget what it's called, but the diving that they did with Henry Cavill when they dove from space. That shit was crazy too in Fallout.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's such a cool part of it is just the stunts and knowing how they crafted them and behind the scenes, knowing that it was actually him. And that's what, I think separates it from a lot of action franchises is, it's actual, they prepare for the stunts. That's the draw. It's not some, big CGI explosion or big climactic epic battle. It's not these long one takes. Those are all, good and can be used in certain ways, but I don't know, it reminds me of the Evel Knievel, big stunts, that's what it's about. Or Jackie Chan, the reputation he got doing all of his own stunts, I don't know, it just adds an element of it's an aura around it. And I guess Tom Cruise too. I mean, everyone jokes around about he's gonna go to space. Well, yeah, he is going to space. What's he gonna do next? What's the big sequence gonna be for part 2?
Yeah, I think people talk about his obsession with Buster Keaton, and it really does remind me of some of those earlier silent movies where the appeal was, what was Buster Keaton going to do? What crazy situation was he going to put himself in? And in the back of your mind, you know that it was done practically. Obviously, at those times, they had no other choice. But with these movies, you're coming in with that expectation that they're going to go those lengths to capture something real. in front of that camera, where it's not going to rely on CGI, or nothing's really going to stand out as fake, because that's a problem you're going to run into no matter how good the CGI is, especially these days where everybody rushes it. Once again, these movies come out every like 4 to 5 years. So you know that it's something that they're sitting down and talking about. And I think the relationship Cruise and McQuarrie have has been so beneficial to this franchise, because it has changed directors for the first 4. But now it's just McQuarrie's become the Mission Impossible guy. So their collaboration, it almost feels like Cruise has found a guy that allows him to almost co-direct, where he's getting more say into what the stunts are going to be and how we can just stretch the limit of what's possible for me to do without dying, because these are death-defying fucking stunts.
Well, I think that helps, like with the marketing. I think Tom Cruise has always done a good job of maybe save like the Mummy movie, but even that had like a pretty strong marketing campaign surrounding it when they stole the Light of the Seven Game of Thrones theme song.
And it made decent money. It made $410 worldwide. It's not a huge profit, but it just goes to show the dude still has the juice.
But when you look at the movies, like even like this, it's so weird. Like this little block of movies here with this Barbie and Oppenheimer and all their marketing campaigns being effective, but in different ways, but all the same being super effective. I mean, it just shows, like, when you have stars or directors who are passionate about a project and you can see the effort and work put into it, I think that resonates with a lot of people. And if people are talking about it, seeing Tom Cruise do the stunts, Tom Cruise going out talking about, basically being the face of the cinema.
No, he is, dude.
Like, I think that gets people pretty hyped up to go see the final product.
Yeah, nobody can sell a movie quite like Tom Cruise these days, where people just love Tom Cruise, man, for the longest time now, because he's been doing this for 30 years, and it's amazing to think that he was 34 in that first one, because he looks like such a baby. This is what he loves to do. This is what he's dedicated his life to, and that's why people can sort of look past all the wackiness of his personal life and just appreciate what he's bringing to the performing art that is cinema. And like you said, the marketing has been really strong for all 3 of those movies. And I hope that this is a movie that will continue to make money in the weeks ahead. It's obviously got a couple of behemoths looking over its shoulder.
Yeah, it's going to be
But
odd,
it was an
man.
expensive-ass fucking movie to make, so it needs to make some good money.
I mean, I think for the overall like state of cinema, especially now with all the striking going on, it could be a weird time, like in the coming months, depending on how long everything goes. But to have this, like, all these 3 movies coming out so close together, movies that have garnered a lot of attention, are going to do very well at the box office. It's I don't know, it's interesting. Rather than it be spread out, I don't know, like, what would be financially that would make more sense for them, but as a whole, just to have like the hypes around going to the movies, like these movies everyone's going out to the theater for, it could be ended up being a good thing, just the overall scope of everything. But
yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to keep our eyes on that, just to see where it lands. Right now it's at 235 worldwide, so that was its international opening, which is the highest.
Early.
Right.
I think it came out on a Tuesday, right, instead of a Thursday, Friday?
Yes, yeah, it did. It was a little old school like that, opening in the middle of the week and then getting those weekend box office numbers coming in. But it's the most expensive of the franchise. Hopefully it makes the most. I don't think any of these movies ever crossed 800 million. I think Fallout settled in maybe the 700s, high 600s. But we will see. I mean, in terms of where it ranks with the other ones, I mean, I'm going to go back to that criticism. Mission Impossible 2 and 3 would probably be my 2 weakest. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're just a bit more bland than the other ones. 1, to me, still really holds up. And the recent run since 2011 has been great. Rogue Nation's been my number 1. I think you could argue, even though I like this movie, and I think it's a really good movie, it may be the weakest of the post-Ghost Protocol Mission Impossibles since 2011. I think it's fighting with Ghost Protocol for maybe that 3rd spot. I think Fallout's better. I think Rogue Nation is better. And I think that this would have been better if there wasn't so much of an emphasis on having this convoluted plot, or just finding a way to simplify it, even if you need to like throw in some plot holes. Sometimes that just works better. And I know people on the internet can be annoying these days, like, well, how would that work? It's like they were so dead set on avoiding plot holes to the point where it's like you can't find any because it's just so damn confusing.
Yeah,
you need to sit with it.
I don't mind making leaps. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a plot hole. It could just be like, how did this happen? Well, you can make some leaps in your head, and maybe it's a little outrageous. But at the end of the day, like I said, with everything they kind of held true to throughout the franchise, like some of it is a bit ridiculous at times, but you kind of just accept it.
Yeah. Well, I thought that it could have used just a bit more ridiculousness, where there was a lot of time spent not doing anything action-oriented, where it was about the plot and moving it forward and revealing new key pieces of information. That's why, to me, Rogue Nation is the best, because it balances the plot and the action so well, where they come together perfectly in the end when they fool Sean Harris's character, who, is he dead? He does die at the end of Fallout, right? They do kill him. R.I.P. He was a great villain. But with this one, there was never that satisfying moment for me, like in the other ones, where I'm like, oh, the gang won. And they did try to present it where it comes full circle and there's going to be a new mission in part 2. But him having the key there at the end because he picked Gabriel's pocket, I'm like, okay, this happened one too many times. It really just came down to who's going to...
You didn't predict that?
Yeah. Who's going to be the last one to pick the other person's pocket? Like, whoever ended up with that lighter was going to be the loser in the end.
Yeah, it would have been cool if like they made like a replica or something that like they made an emphasis like, oh, it weighs the same, so like he wouldn't notice it out of his pocket or something like that. I felt like it's a little pickpocket, like you said, like it's a pretty valuable key there. I feel like that's something you would try to keep tabs on.
And you kept noticing it, like somebody would put it in their pocket and then they get brushed up against, and it'd be like, well, I guess that person has the key now. Oh, no, they've got the key. It became a little bit too obvious. I guess the MacGuffin of the key was just too present in the plot for me, where I thought some of that time could have been just replaced by even bigger and better action sequences. Not that these action sequences weren't incredible, but damn, give me, that's been your bread and butter. Let's just do more of that. And I think that's what does sort of hold it back. Because even in Fallout, man, like Fallout, they're both moving at 1,000 miles per hour, but that one just keeps like getting better and better and better. And this one, I felt like there was really great moments and then okay, and then another great moment and okay. But Fallout, you're just like glued to it, ending with that helicopter chase. Such a great way to end that battle between Cruz and Cavill, and the train sequence here was good too. Shades of the first Mission Impossible when they're on the train. I think that train sequence is actually better.
A good train sequence always works because it's just a runaway train. What do you do?
Yeah, it's always just fun. Yeah, when you have the duck, the bridge is coming.
They always like break the lever. Can't stop this train.
Right, you just fucking break the lever, or you just call in Spider-Man. But the middle, just coming out of it, like the middle to me feels foggy. Like when they're all sitting down, when Vanessa Kirby's character is first introduced, I was so confused. I was like, I don't understand what anybody's saying. Like, I don't know what these locations are. Somebody punched somebody. And Palm Clementif was like slowly pulling out her sword. I'm like, yeah, do something. Cut somebody. Cut a bitch.
I like when they use swords when guns are readily available. Just cool.
Well, did you think that Rebecca Ferguson's death was a little anticlimactic for a character that became so important?
Yeah, it's like obviously when they did the first fake out, they're not going to do it again the second time. So
yeah,
I mean the idea they tried to, I felt like that was a little bit like they said it and then it just happens. Like when he tries to establish like every woman that gets close to Ethan Hunt ends up dead, and like just 10 minutes later it comes true. It's just something that I feel like they just threw in there. And
it felt more like a Bond thing than an Ethan Hunt thing.
I would have liked it to, I enjoyed her character, and I don't really think it was like the best way for her to go out. I think it would have been a lot cooler or just a lot serving the character better if it was more of like a sacrifice situation or doing something for the rest of the crew can make it out of there and survive or to get the key, but it was just like one-on-one battle with this guy, and he just stabbed her.
Yeah, I feel like maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe there's more of a point to her death, but it did feel like a sacrifice that was in vain, which is a weird way.
Because everything ended up happening the way that he was going to happen regardless. Like her dying didn't make anything like the train sequence would have happened still, right? I feel like. Yeah,
right. It felt unceremonial. An unceremonial way to exit that character, especially all the development. Her development in the first movie is great because, you don't know whose side she's on. She's got this checkered past, and they reintroduce her in Fallout, and it's sort of the same thing. But where those characters end, it felt romantic. Like they did find each other. What they found in each other was what they needed to have that companionship, living these types of lives where they're always going to be on the run or the next mission. I don't know. I really liked that for those two fictional characters. And then it seems like she was brushed aside for Haley Atwell's character, who was also a good character. So in the moment, yeah, you're sad, but it's like, okay, so what is Grace going to do now? How is she going to help wrap up this story? And it looks like she's going to play a pretty big role in the next one, which I'm not complaining about. But it does sort of feel like they pushed out Ferguson for Atwell, maybe just subconsciously. I don't know. Like there's only one girl on the team type of thing. Like if another wisecracking Scottish guy showed up, Benji's going to be like, fuck, I'm dead. Just kills him automatically.
Someone comes into the room with a top hat.
Hey guys, I'm a hacker. Oh fuck.
Yeah, but I bet he doesn't have a... Oh my god, look at that hat!
It just pulls it out in slow motion, puts it on his shiny bald head. So yeah, I think that for a part one, it did its job. And I think a lot of these part ones, sometimes they forget that people want to watch a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this felt like a full movie. So that's definitely something that I really appreciated about it.
I feel like the last couple part ones, great movies, Spider-Verse, Dune, left you wanting, it kind of sucked.
Yeah,
It kind of just ended like that. Even though, both great movies, and the part twos will probably make it all complete. I think there is something to having a part one have its own sense of completion, like a complete story. Lord of the Rings, I think, has done it perfectly. Even the Star Wars movies, like it ends and it has everything kind of it played out over the course of there's three acts, and it feels like a complete story. But there's more there, and and you'll get that in the next part, but you can always go back and watch these as like a little complete movie and not feel like you're missing out on something. And I think that's always a good thing.
All right, guys, that does it for our review of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I guess we will be back eventually for Part 2, whenever that comes out. I think it's coming out sometime next year, or maybe within 2 years, or maybe, never, depending on how these strikes go. But we will be back very soon, probably in a few days, with a new podcast to talk about all the big news that has been dominating the headlines, the actors, the Screen Actors Guild joining the writers in their strike, and there's also just a lot of other stuff to get into as well. And we'll also be dropping our Oppenheimer/Barbie review mashup comparison video, so that should be fun. We're going to see that this weekend, so that should be out sometime early next week, or maybe even over the weekend. But we're happy to be back, Thank you for sticking with us through our hiatus, or depending on how this video does, maybe some of you guys didn't stick with us, but hey, can't win them all. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching, like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and we'll see you here very soon. Or maybe not.